Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the final group stage game here in the FC Dynamo Brest 2017 Cup. It's been a long 2 weeks in this qualifier, but we've got all the games done. Well, almost all the games done. We've got one more to play. Kinguin up against Epsilon. As always, my name is Hawker, joined by Sir Danny to bring you the action. And Danny, I mean, we've got the playoffs still coming up, so still plenty more CS to play out, if you like, but what are your thoughts about this game?
I mean, what I can say is that, Kinguin versus Epsilon, this should be relatively close affair. I think this matchup right here on a map like Cash should be relatively favoring both of these teams. Epsilon and Kinguin are pretty decent teams on a map like Cash. They have other favorites that come to my mind that would be the likes of Mirage for Kinguin, a bit of Train for Epsilon, maybe Overpass, one of their better maps, but really, this could come down to the wire, a game like this. Kinguin, they have been stepping up lately. They have been regaining their form, as I've been talking about previously. They won that ESL Clash of Nations event, but it wasn't against the sort of best opposition. Epsilon, though, I don't think they still have found like their form, the proper form in which this team can really excel. There's, I'd say, just trying to build up this team, these players. They have played with each other, I'd say, for some time, but you do, of course, have some of those additions like Eric, Zinkin, who you really haven't seen that much in this whole Swedish scene. So it's going to be interesting to see this matchup. Looks like after Epsilon won that knife round, I presume they're going to be sticking to that CT side. It does make sense. I mean, Epsilon, they're still a relatively new lineup, and starting on the CT side where you need to land the headshots is probably best for them.
Yeah, it certainly could be the case for Epsilon. We are going to head underway here. And just talking about this game, I wasn't exactly sure how the sort of deciding factor comes into it, but it turns out that WASD beat Kinguin previously, so they already have, I believe, the first spot guaranteed. And that means that Kinguin, I mean, if they win this game, they are guaranteed second place, which could be fairly important, because if they finish in second, they would get to play against Team 5, who are at the bottom seed from Group A. Whereas if they slot it down a little bit lower, they could go up against a team like El Corvette or Pride that might be a bit more difficult. So that's something to remember as we head underway into the pistol round here. They're leaning towards B early on, and the push comes out from the CT side, but it's not successful. Spiro shuts it down and leaves Eric with everything to do on the B site. Although he's going to get some support now. Zinken comes over and finds two headshots. All of a sudden, Epsilon just open things up and leave only Mouse left 1-on-3.
They do such a good job here on the defense. Eric and Zinken timing in. You also have to understand, the bomb being dropped in the middle of nowhere is really hard to recover for the T's at that point. The bomb being dropped off while still 4 T's were alive. It's an easy rotate here for Epsilon, and they have all of the guns aiming at Lonesome Mouse. So Zinken will be picking up a 3K in the round. Very nicely done by him, as he was, as I mentioned previously, was very quick to get his way onto towards CT, and because CT wasn't smoked, he had clear vision on the T players coming his way and on the bomb side itself. So Epsilon, they pick up the pistol round. Kinguin looks like they're going to be answering with a force buy of their own. Alrighty then, Kinguin, they have those sort of pistols coming into round like this, as well as armors, but they have completely abandoned the middle here, Epsilon. And by the looks of Kinguin, they have, I think, players towards the boost and towards, of course, blue. You have Capper, who could have gotten the second frag, but already getting the one frag is decent enough.
I think that is fair to say, as you can see Eric trying to make sure the guns can't be picked up, and he will do just that, making sure the UMP is nowhere near any of the Kinguin players. He could even throw it out the map, but decides to just keep it on the back of the site instead. Here's Mihu up on boost. This is dangerous. Kevzy peeking in and out, and he's going to lose his head for his peek. He tries to get some information, and, well, he gets some information, but the information is that Mihu has killed him. As Mihu looks for another kill, but Barbar going to play safe. He is still a little bit worried of Squeaky, though. He's having to switch between the two positions. So finally he decides to just push T main to only have being exposed from one angle. And so we go back to a 3-on-3. Still chances for Kinguin. Oh, wait. There's a player at truck.
Especially
Oh my
Rallen.
god.
Yes, I mean Rallen, he's in such a good position, the T player. He was in CT spawn at one point, but now he decided to go towards A. This is where the bomb is also heading, but Sparrow, he's gotta wait for this player to peek, and the best timing is possible for Sparrow. King will be planting the bomb. That is in no problem whatsoever. It's just that JC Watkins, I think he's still gonna try to go for this one. You know, he has the UMP and he also has armor. But look on where the bomb is planted. It's such a difficult spot now for JZ Watkins, especially as you have Rallen coming in from behind with the Deagle. Only 9-inch speed, truly, but JZ Watkins should be going down now any second now. And Kinguin with an unlikely round win, and that was what I was talking about. I have no idea why on earth Epsilon thought it's a good idea to abandon middle completely. Not just, oh, they had one player in middle, or the guy in middle was watching from Vance, Whitebox, or even Z. They barely had anyone there, and we saw Rallen. He made very quick succession of that. He made his way into towards the Z connector, and then he wraps around towards the A bomb set, and that's just a horrible round for Epsilon to lose, I'd say. Giving away way too much.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair assessment, because now, of course, Epsilon, they're back to a force buy, but this investment still doesn't exactly have too much to show for itself. Zinken does have the one MP9, but other than that, it is all pistols for Epsilon. And we're going to see Kinguin this time go for the mid control again. Worked out well for Rallen in the previous round, so he's going to stick in towards vents this time. Spraying towards the back box just to make sure that is cleared. But seems like Kinguin are going to pile through vents here towards the B bomb site, and there are a couple of players holding close here. It's JZ Walkings who's going to try and take the first fight. Not really too successful, but there goes Eric finding a couple of kills here. The AKs eventually find the trades, and there we go. Rallen manages to secure the 2 kills, so should still be good for Kinguin, but they still lose a couple of players on the B push.
That is true, but at the same time, you know, Epsilon had a pretty good setup on that B-bomb set, especially when it comes down to holding down vents. You had Eric in a relatively good spot. It's just that the rest of the squad, I think there was a player onto Heaven who got very much blinded by the flash and couldn't accomplish anything. And now you see Epsilon, who are trying to go for a save here, but apparently Zinken could recover an AK for his troubles, and that's what he's gonna do. Get that AK and try to keep it into the next round, because hey, his team is going to be on a full eco, and that AK could come out handy, I'd say.
So it does look like, as you were saying, that AK will be saved. But I don't think Epsilon will really be able to invest into a force buy. Just looking at the money quickly, yeah, we'd expect them to just eco. So only really going to be Zinken likely having too much, but he does also save a Desert Eagle. He'll throw that over to a teammate, which is always a nice little benefit for the Swedish team. And Kinguin themselves, of course, are going to keep a couple of players with worse weapons, with Kappa and Sparrow sticking with a UMP and a CZ respectively. So if Zinken found those opponents, you'd certainly think he would be able to win those fights. But it would be even better if he could take down an AK and allow his teammates to pick that up. And oh, he nearly gets the chance to, but Mihu just too quick with the headshot, shuts down the AK. They're trying to pick it up, and Kevzi gets a kill back. But that is all she wrote. Mihu actually gets an ace there from Boost, shutting down the mid presence completely.
Yeah, that was quite surprising, to be honest. Yeah, I know that, you know, Mihu was in a pretty good position to do some damage, but picking up an ace into the round, now that was quite thrilling to see. The AK barely accomplishing anything. In fact, the AK player was the first to go down there. So at that point onward, Epsilon had barely any sort of chance in the round. They did try, though. They did try to take down Lonesome Mihu, but it didn't work out. And speaking about pushing out by his Lonesome, that'd be JZ Watkins. No flashes required for him to peek. And that is how he's gonna fall into his doom. But Sparrow following it up will be getting a second one, but not the third one. And he was very close at getting the third, but simply not good enough. Now, the rest of the terrorist squad, all you gotta do now is just stick together and hit out of the bomb sites, and it looks like they're gonna hit B. This is where Lady Luck shines upon them, as the B bomb site had only one defender. So now the bomb will be planted, and with the bomb being planted, I think Barber's and Zinken's best hope is trying to save those double ops.
Yep, you can see Barber definitely realizes that, just running around with his knife out, having a bit of fun, but it's not been too fun so far for Epsilon after winning the pistol round, because they've lost multiple rounds now, in fact 4 in a row. And even with these saved, or, well, not necessarily saved just yet, because Barbar misses that shot. So we'll have to watch out to see if he can survive here, because he is sticking around on the A site itself. Zinken does get that shot for the other AWP, but Barbar, as I was saying, just standing out in the open, ends up going down. And Zinken now, he's going to try to close the door, but already Kinguin moving in towards his position. Zinken needs a quick shot here. The flash blinds him, so he's forced to just fall back, but he will be safe. There wasn't a push coming from the other side, so only the one AWP saved. And now the question is, do Epsilon want to force up? But I think that's very unlikely. Maybe if they'd have saved the double AWPs, they could justify a force. But with only the single AWP saved, they can afford to just go for one eco. However, they are going to have to, again, concede even more rounds over to Kinguin, unless Zinken can get something going with this AWP towards B. And he's in the perfect position here. He should get this first chance. And there is the opening kill coming in for the CT side, although quickly traded by Mouse.
Yeah, and now the terrorist side team, they have information. That is where the op is stationed at, the B bomb side. It really just doesn't make more sense to go towards that part of the map. You know where the bomb is at. You simply got to go towards A. And honestly, this is just working out beautifully for them, for the terrorist side team, because now they spotted out a player who pushed up towards main. This means confirmation that the A bomb site should be either relatively undefended or only have one or two so defenders. So it does make sense to push towards A. The problem is, though, Kinguin took way too much time, and Epsilon are gonna try to stack the entirety of the A bomb site with all of their players. The good thing is, though, Kinguin, they have a good read on this one. They were expecting a similar play, and the thing is that they're gonna be having an empty B bomb site for their taking.
Very good read from Kinguin there to realise there was certainly the chance they would try and stack back towards A. And to be fair, oftentimes you will see when that AWP has been spotted out in a round like this, oftentimes they will kind of try and rotate off and see if they can get back towards the A site quickly enough that Kinguin wouldn't be expecting it. And I think that's what Zinken was going for here with the rest of the team, but they didn't really allow Kinguin to sort of push forwards, and so instead Kinguin just take the B site. Kevzi is out towards mid, thinking about finding a fight. Zinken's just going to hold off towards truck. So, of course, the players with pistols might as well go for exit kills. Kinguin have a fair amount of money built up. It would be nice to put a dent into that economy by finding a kill or two. And, oh, Mal's going to throw away the AK just to make sure there's no chance of an extra one being saved. Unless he dies off. Zinken, that's your teammate there. Don't shoot teammates. That's not very nice. Barbar only takes 30 damage, and he's not going to get any action anyway, because Kevzi over towards B main is going to spot some players out, trying to find a kill. He does, but in comes the trade. So one gun denied at the end there for Epsilon.
So overall, it wasn't that bad for Epsilon, as they do get to keep the AWP, and that's really what they wanted in that round. Either keep the AWP, or at least have the op do a decent amount of damage on the terror side economy. Since the latter one didn't really work out, they do get to save the op, and it's back into the game here. Barbar will be also taking an op here, and Jay-Z Watkins with an op of his own, so the double op setup is very much upon us. The thing is, though, both the ops okay. The lonesome up of Barbar is stationed towards middle, but he also has got backup in the form of White Box. So this is good for Barbar. The thing is, though, they're not keen on taking middle just yet, Kinguin. They're still thinking about their options. As, in fact, they have a decent amount of players towards main, but it looks like Sparrow has deployed some of that utility. But look at the rest of the Kinguin squad. Where on earth are they going, if not towards that A-bomb side?
Plenty of players grouped up in towards A main. As the smoke comes out, Zinken could be the first line of defense if the push were to come through. At the same time, Kevzi is also over towards quad. And Epsilon themselves are going to use a fair bit of utility to slow down this push. Kinguin might be a bit worried now. They might feel like they're losing map control elsewhere, and you can see they don't really want to commit to the A push now because they aren't fully sure if a push could have come out towards B, and then Epsilon could have 4 players stacked at A. There are many possibilities here. So Kinguin, they will now, after going back towards Garage, decide to commit, but Zinken, before they can even push forwards, finds that opening kill. There goes Kevzi with one of his own. The Molotov will force him out, and he should be going down. Indeed, the pre-fire takes him out. And here comes Kappa pushing forwards, taking the point for the team, and he gets 2 entry kills. And now Eric and Jay-Z Walkings back towards truck are not really that near the site, so the bomb should be planted without them really being able to do anything.
For me, it was quite odd to see some of the players peek there. I know the player that got Molotov, he has to peek in the scenario he is in, but the guy on the side, he doesn't. He really just gotta wait, and This is how Epsilon gonna lose the round. That'd be quite heartbreaking to say the least. JZ Watkins, though, could get the better of Sparrow, and in fact, he will. Up to Lonesome Capper, who has got the AK in his hands, but also Eric coming in. That's a perfect flash there. Very nicely thrown flash, and in the end, Epsilon do take the round win. It did look scared there quite a bit, but the Swedish side will prevail.
And they also get to save the double orbs for themselves. So finally, Epsilon might be able to work the economy to go towards themselves, because you can see Kinguin, despite having a fair amount of money built up prior to this one, they have of course had to invest a lot into this round in terms of getting the AWP and the AKs together. So here we go, back underway into a buy round. Both teams don't have too much money left behind here. Kinguin could probably get another buy together if they lost, but Epsilon would be unlikely to be able to do so themselves. So they really need to make sure they win this round. Otherwise, they do very much run the risk of Kinguin starting to sort of get out of control with how many rounds they would have on the board. Speaking of those double AWPs, JZ Walkings is towards B, whereas Barbar is towards mid. I'm surprised to see two players committed towards B. Eric also here to help JZ Walkings, considering they have the AWP holding this off. You would think they'll be okay with just leaving the AWP here on the long-range angle. They decide to stick two players towards B for the time being, and let's see if that's a good read from Epsilon, because Kinguin certainly very non-committal so far, more focused towards mid at the initial portion of the round.
And why shouldn't they? Epsilon hasn't really showed a lot of resilience towards that part of the map previously. Yes, they had two guys towards middle, but really, in the other rounds, they just haven't been focusing too much, I'd say, towards middle. And Kinguin, even though they do take middle relatively late into the round, they do take it nonetheless. And they have a lot of options right now. They can go for an A split or a B split, depending on how they feel like. And now dropping that player towards B, it does make sense to go for a good old-fashioned A split, as the good thing for them is that the A bomb site is empty. And I'm pretty sure Epsilon is, of course, honestly, I don't know what they're gonna do with three players on the B bomb site, and now with that bomb being planted. Oh, they're gonna try to go for this one. I'm not quite sure why they thought this is gonna be a full-on B hit. I do presume it's because of Zinkin. You know, he pushed up all the way through main, didn't see anyone, and he's like already calling, okay guys, this is gonna be B, it's gonna be B. But it's definitely not B, it is A.
You don't often see teams all go through highway to go to the A site, so I certainly understand why they took the gamble, and they still have a chance on the retake with a man advantage here. But Epsilon have to go quickly, and Zinkin will do just that. He finds himself 2 kills, and Maus now needs to play the time. He gets a second headshot, and Zinkin just cannot get the defuse. Maus plays the time to perfection, and sure, he's going to go down to the bomb, but more importantly, the round is won, and that means that Epsilon, other than the saved rifle, won't have the best of cash to buy up into this round. Really nicely done there by Mousy to stay alive, even though the rest of his teammates went down a bit too quickly there. I don't really like the player at Squeaky facing. When the time has ticked down so far, you can just afford to play things safe, but Kinguin still get the round win, so that's the most important thing for them at the end of the day, of course.
That is true, you know, getting the round wins is always nice, and the thing is, though, is Zinkin, you know, had such a good showing there when it came down to the retake, coming in from the B bomb site, picking up 3 massive frags, but simply his teammates were not on the same page as he was, and now we're seeing it being quite a bit of an issue here. You know, it was a relatively close round in the end, but it did go in favor of Kinguin. Barbar will be taking out Sparrow, who was hit by his teammate previously, and Mao's gonna get the spray through anyway, and Zinkin's gonna drop, and that's a clean round for Epsilon. Honestly, maybe even a bit too clean, but anyhow, Epsilon, I think they're gonna be back in this one with a proper investment. It's not gonna be looking too good, and JC Watkins again on the op. I have to admit, he has been opping, that is true, but he hasn't been doing so great on the CT side.
That's exactly what I was about to point out. We've seen Barbar pick up the AWP as well. He hasn't been able to do too much either when they've gone for those double AWPs, and that's really, I think, what's been making the difference. But let's see if JZ Walkings can turn a new page in his career, in this map at least, and try to improve things for himself. Goes down to half HP early on. Looks like he's just going to play things safe. In fact, sitting back towards the back box in checkers. I guess he does have a player in towards vents that can help him out, but they could still walk on towards the bomb sites, which is something that Epsilon will have to be a little bit worried about if some presence comes in towards B. Here comes Spiro peeking out. The flashbang helps him get that pick on towards JZ Walkings. And so yet again, the AWP is taken down early on. Shviro's been dominant in those AWP fights so far. Kevzi, though, pushes into A main, so some information, some map control for Epsilon, but still the man disadvantage, of course.
But you also gotta give credit for Kinguin, you know, the way they've been playing this terror side is just pretty much having the majority of the players just moving together, and they're moving together again. This time around, 2 players towards Hyvy, and they're gonna be so powerful in this linchpin. But take a look at Zinkin. He is in towards main. He could be the stopping force here. But the thing is, though, the T's are gonna have to not check him, and Mouse is right. He was right above the player, and in fact, Zinkin will be getting both of those frags. Somehow, they didn't check Zinkin, and now the bomb has to be recovered. And also, Capper missing quite an easy shot there, I presume, onto Barbar. Rally now is gonna have to clutch.
He will get the bomb down in the 1-on-2. Let's see where Rallen can go now, because both players are coming from A main from the CT side. He does still have a smoke and 2 flashes, but you can see Rallen trying to play for that first kill, because he doesn't feel confident in letting Epsilon push him together. So here comes Rallen peeking out, goes for the fight. And Eric just about comes out on top. If that was Barbar there, who was already low, that would have been a quick kill for Rallen. But instead, Eric had the health. He wins out in the 1-on-1 duel. And so Epsilon managed to get themselves the round win. And, well, again, they are just about staying alive, you could say, in this one. They're really sort of on the edge of being put straight back down to ecos. But they will still have a bye for this round. Of course, Kinguin themselves, plenty of money built up. So into this round 11, they are just going to go for the AKs rather than getting an AWP for Shviro. So maybe that's what JZ Walkings needs to get his AWP rolling. He's not up against an AWP this time. So if he takes these opening fights against the AKs, you'd think he would be having a good chance of things. But Shviro finds the headshot. Even when he's got the AK, he's still shutting JZ Walkings down. Eric does find the trade again, so it is back to a 4-on-4. But look at Kinguin. They're leaning more towards A right now, and Epsilon only really have one player there. Mid-presence is actually coming in instead from the poles.
Oh, but they're making noise towards Vent. The Molotov being prepped. Eric is gonna be backing away as the Molotov does hit him right in the face. Kinguin now, I mean, this sort of style they're playing right now is actually quite effective against Epsilon, as Epsilon are relatively still spread quite far apart from each other. It really comes down to getting the initial engagements in the sort of 1v1s. If it might be successful, like we saw the round previously, you know, Zinkin picking up 2 massive frags for his team. But more often than not, it looks like Epsilon kind of crumbles while it's playing by their lonesome.
Ooh, Barbar finds that angle out towards mid from the back of Z. Kevzi is still, though, the one man really on towards the A site by himself, although, as I say that, Barbar is coming over towards truck. So with 35 seconds left here, looks like Kinguin will look to make their way up highway up to the A site. They are very much running down the clock here, and with Barbar being patient towards truck, if he gets the timing right, he could certainly pounce and shut down this push with 20 seconds left.
And that's not a lot of time here for Kinguin, but the good thing for them is they're on the site, but that is also where the bomb is dropped. Kevzi is gonna get the better of both of the players, and apparently that is how the round is gonna go in favor of Epsilon. Kinguin, they had a pretty good there in the end. It's just the problem is that the players that were coming from highway, they aren't able to get the player towards car, and just isolating the game the seat on the side itself becomes such a big issue for the Poles. And well, I guess the good thing for the Poles is that they can still purchase up the weapons. You know, they have those weapons coming into a round like this, the 12th round. But in Epsilon, they have been able to recover with 2 rounds in a row in their favor. That's definitely not that bad. You know, definitely not bad from the Epsilon side. I did say that them trying to go for those individual engagements hasn't really been working out for them, but really these past 2 couple of rounds, they've been showing up. You know, Barbar, Kevzi, Zinkin, those are the players that do come to my mind. JZ Watkins has been struggling a bit, but if his teammates are doing some of the heavy lifting, then heck, they might just be able to at least have a pretty good scoreline here on the CT side.
Certainly could be the case, but they still, of course, need to win this round for that to potentially happen. And here comes Shviro peeking out through A main. Oh, he nearly whiffs the kill, but just about recovers in time to take down Barbar. And now Kevzi is the man on the site trying to hold this off. He puts down a smoke himself to slow down the push, alongside the incendiary coming out, so the poles might be slowed a little bit. But you can already see Kappa pushing up in the midst of the smoke. There's still a player out towards mid, but Epsilon heavily rotated over here. Finally, the tension will be broken as Epsilon finds so many kills. In a matter of seconds, the round is turned on its head, and Kinguin lose all 5 bodies over towards A. And you saw there that the nades slowing down the push made a huge difference because Epsilon had pretty much everyone rotated to the A site.
And, you know, at that sort of point when you see the smoke being deployed right in front of you, of course you can try and go for the push through the smoke. But, I mean, it's such a difficult affair. It's more likely than not, a player behind that smoke is gonna be getting the frag. And Kinguin, you know, they tried to outsmart the city side. In fact, they had a team player being boosted up on the shroud box. I mean, you were probably thinking he could be in a position to take down the players on the side itself. The problem is, though, Eric coming from car, spotting him out, gets the frag. Also, some of the other players, you know, they tried jumping on the red container and it simply didn't work out for them. Kinguin kind of falling flat on their face in a round like that. They did not succeed at all. Epsilon outbesting them in that sort of defense game on the bomb side A. And Kinguin, it just goes to show they're gonna have to go eco here. And this eco, it might work out for them. They might just be getting a kill here if possible.
Could be the case as Spiro opens up with the Desert Eagle. Just before the smoke blooms, Kinguin get themselves the first kill of the round. They're not going to commit to the A push off the back of the frag. Instead, they're going to refocus their attention towards mid. But Barbar is here with the M4. Fairly easy frag for him, but he decides to play things safe and just back off to the site. I really like that from Barbar, not risking sticking around by himself towards mid. Zinken, though, is going to go for some aggression himself, sitting on the edge of the smoke here. The timing's going to be everything as Spiro misses the shots in towards highway. Zinken exposed from so many angles, and he will eventually go down, and that is the A site lost with his death. Epsilon in a bit of trouble now, especially as Miku finds another frag.
Some of the positioning of the Tursar players is looking very good now. Capper, no Molotov will be deployed on him, so he's in a very good spot. But as they say, so now comes in Molotov. He's gonna have to run away, and Jay-Z Watkins picking up too. Now Mao's right behind Quad. He's got the P250 in his hands, and I don't think that's gonna be good enough for the clutch. He does try to go for it, but Eric be expecting it. The player to be in the position Mao's was at an Epsilon. This is gonna be the first time they have a relatively good win streak, you know, 4 rounds in favor, well, 4 rounds in a row to be exact. The scoreline is still not favoring the city side, but it's close, you know, there's only 1 round difference separating both of these teams.
And you can see the advantage of Kinguin getting so many rounds earlier on because they continue to be able to get those buys together. Bomb plant's certainly helping them. The AWP is brought up, and we're going to see Epsilon pushing towards mid, but Rallen sprays through the smoke to open things up. That's got to be frustrating from Zinken. They tried to go for some aggression towards mid. We haven't really seen Epsilon fight for mid too often, and the one time they try and switch things up, they get sprayed through the smoke. And so Kinguin now with the man advantage, I would certainly not be surprised to see them just slow things down tremendously and make sure they don't make any mistakes. That peek was scary over towards Squeaky, but it won't lead to anything. And so indeed, Kinguin will now go out towards mid, where yet again, Epsilon now have no presence.
And Epsilon is going to be playing this one risky. Right now, we're seeing a bit of a rotation from the CT side, but beforehand, you know, having 3 players towards A doesn't make a lot of sense, though. Miku, he's got the bomb. The nade will be finishing him off, and that's the bomb being dropped. This is not looking good here for Kinguin. They're going to have to recover the bomb, even though they are pushing on towards the B bomb side. The bomb is now in vent, so it's recoverable, but still, you have Eric and Jay-Z Watkins from the CT side, and Eric, he can be found in this B bomb, so they're putting in some pot shots, but still, Kinguin actually gonna try to back away, and no backup is gonna be needed. Apparently, as both Spiro and Mouse will be picking up kills in Epsilon. It's the last round of the half, and they're gonna have to scrape a buy at this point. It's gonna be a couple of those rifles being purchased, which isn't that bad, and Zinken, he may not have a rifle. He may have to stick with the MP, but heck, after the start, they did have Epsilon. If they're going to be running away with 6, that's still pretty decent in my eyes.
Yeah, not too bad for Epsilon, but for this round, it is a little bit bad. They have to scrape the bottom of the bargain basement bin, if you like, to find these guns for themselves. But JZ Walking still finds the first kill. Miku, in the meantime, works his way out on towards the A site, and Kevzi was holding it by himself. Here comes the counter boost, but Mouse is just about going to get the bomb. Is he going to be safe? The timing is so important, and Mouse might just get his way in towards A main. Barbar still trying to shut him down, and Mouse does end up falling. And as I was saying earlier, that's the bomb dropped down now, so all of a sudden, Epsilon themselves in a great position to take this final round of the half.
Yeah, with that bomb being dropped, you're probably thinking that the player, I think that was Mouse, he doesn't have to go for the fight in that sort of scenario, but he does and drops the bomb in the end. Epsilon, they have an opportunity here. It's pretty much upon them. They can really win this one. But you do get to see, even though Sparrow is relatively low in HP, looks like Capper and Miku will trying to go for a boost of their own. One of their players did die from the boost. And now they're gonna actually play with the minds of the CT side here. They're everywhere here, the CTs, and this is a bit problematic here for Kinguin. They're gonna try to recover the bomb, but they simply are running out of time, and they need to find kills, and kills they will find. Miku getting 2 quick frags, but Zinkin, he might just seal the deal here, picking up one more, not the second one. 20 seconds on the clock. He's gonna have to make for a run for it, Capper, and it pretty much should be certain at this point. The player should be close by him, sticking the plant. Doesn't make much sense, but he's making a lot of noise, and Eric will be getting a very quick and easy frag. So the scoreline, honestly, doesn't really resemble how the first half went on, but really, it's looking relatively good for both of these teams, I'd say.
Yeah, Kinguin certainly had a very good start to this half, and I think they may have been hoping after they saw how well they started off that they could have been able to really get a convincing sort of scoreline into the half, but at the same time, 8 rounds on the T side is certainly nothing to be sniffed at, and Epsilon themselves certainly started to find their form towards the end there, so the second half pistol will be very, very interesting, because if Epsilon do come out on top, they could get themselves into the lead and they could continue with that sort of momentum we saw being built from those rounds at the end of their CT side. We are going to have a little bit of a break before the second half gets underway. We can talk about the scoreboard for a little bit, I suppose. Not really too much in terms of anyone standing out. Zinkin is up there at 15 frags. And as we were saying, JZ Walkings was struggling at the start. He did pick it up a little bit towards the end of the half. But I'd be interested to see as well if he can have impact if he goes for that AWP on the T side, because you do kind of need the confidence to go for sort of peeks in towards cash, in towards mid, when you know there could be a CT AWPer there. So that's something to watch out for Epsilon. If JZ Walkings can start to up his game, it certainly feels like that could push them over the edge.
Yes, that could really come down to an opera like JZ Watkins. If he's gonna be good on the turret side, getting an entry frag for the team, and the rest of the squad is able to, for instance, make a very good run on either of the sides, the A or B bomb side, that is where the opera can really come and shine through if he's able to get those entry frags. If not, if he's just gonna be railing behind the players who are pushing on the bomb sides, he may not find as much success, but hey, we're still gonna have to wait and see which team is gonna be having a good start here on the second half. Really, the scoreline is, it's hard to say which team is being favored at this point. It's a relatively good scoreline. Cash is still a pretty decent map, I'd say, for both of these teams. It's pretty much the new at this point that is still not within the map pool, and yeah, I mean, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Epsilon, if their individuals will shine through on the T side, then heck, they might have a good T side, but Kinguin, if they're gonna be having good holds, then the CTs could also be the winners here, but we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Exactly, and enough waiting. Let's get into the action and let's see which way this one goes, because that's what everyone wants to see on this pistol round, especially with the game, of course, being so tight. Now we're going to see Epsilon make their way on towards A. This is a fairly quick push, but Kappa decapitates 2 opponents, makes it a third, and he's just completely shut down the A push with a little bit of help from Mihu finding a frag of his own. Kevzi, the one man left out towards mid, also gets shut down. And well, we were saying that this pistol round was going to be important in sort of deciding how this second half plays out. If that's anything to go by, then Kinguin could be having a very good CT side for themselves.
It could be the case, honestly. It could very much be the case with Epsilon. They got stomped there from the Kinguin side. It was pretty much a stomp there. The CT side doing such a good job in hold, pretty much killing every single Terra side player, and I think only losing one of their own, so it isn't that bad, I'd say. Epsilon, they're going to be going for not necessarily a full-on force fight. It's going to be a relatively equal here, you could say. A partial investment, maybe the correct term, but really Epsilon not hoping to accomplish too much in a round like this, but with those deagles being purchased, those upgraded pistols, they are expected to do some damage, and with that damage in mind, they might have an opportunity maybe to make their way on either of the sides, and Zinkin taking down the mid defense. Now that's an opening the Epsilon side is going to be quite happy about, and Capper not expecting a player to be up close, so towards Highway. I'm quite surprised that Barbar didn't even have some sort of backup. Again, Zinkin getting a 1-dig right there. But he can get all the 1-digs of the world, but if they're not going to matter too much, if his teammates are not going to be able to step up, it's really not going to matter too much. Mouse, though, spotting out both the players. This is pretty much the end for Epsilon.
Bomb goes down. Zinken, despite getting those 2 earlier kills, is left in a 1-on-3. It looks like he should be going down shortly. Mouse is stuck in the corner. Zinken tries to pre-fire, but Kappa is there to help out his teammate. I was a little bit scared for a second there when Miles was sort of reloading out in the open, but clearly he knew what he was doing. He got back to cover. And so Kinguin are the first team to get themselves up to double digits in terms of their rounds. 10 on the board. And very likely, of course, to be 11 because Epsilon, they can invest a little bit into this round. But remember, they didn't invest fully into the previous one. So it looks like Epsilon are going to be very focused on that first gun round. And that's really good to see because if they did lose that first gun round, they would be in a lot of trouble in terms of being just so far behind in terms of rounds. Either way, push comes out towards mid. Who's spraying a couple down, makes it a third. And this round looks like it's going to be over incredibly quickly here as Rallen gets a couple boosted up into the vents.
Yeah, that's a very quick round from Kinguin, and that's what you expect, when the players are just running up at you without any sort of armor. They're just gonna be very easy kills for the CT side, and easy kills they were. Kinguin, in fact, is gonna be keeping 2 of those SMGs, and honestly, I don't blame them, as worst case scenario for the CT side is that they're gonna be having another investment. It's just that really, it would be nice to see for them to play a bit more aggressive with those SMGs, and they're gonna try to do so. The problem is, though, Sparrow, in no world he could have counted a player could actually try to spray him down through a smoke like that. That's not a good start here for Kinguin, but it definitely is a good start for the Epsilon side.
And it looks like Epsilon aren't particularly going to look to press their advantage further just yet. They're okay with playing it fairly patiently. And with good reason, because that first pick did come very, very early into the round. I'm going to see Mal's currently kind of by himself towards B for Kinguin. That's got to be a little bit scary for him as he goes for the flash out and spots out an opponent. And you can see now already Kinguin deciding to make sure they have a player a little bit closer towards the B's sights. I think that is Rallen making his way back around, but that's not going to be too important because it's Jay-Z Walkings. I was talking about that confidence being a factor. Well, that looked like a very confident peek towards the A site as he gets another pick. Does spot out the other man, but not quite going to be able to pull the trigger. Either way, still looking great for Epsilon with the 2-man advantage.
And with that 2-man advantage in mind, this should be a round in their favor, all things considering. Capper will be getting the frag, but that's about all he's gonna get. Mouse and Rallen, I think it's the obvious choice at this point. If they're able to save what they've got, then the team will also be making an investment, so they're gonna be straight back into the game. But for the time being, though, just gift this round for Epsilon. And heck, Epsilon, they did a pretty good job. Jay-Z Watkins did a very good job at getting that initial frag, but also Barbar doing a very good job at picking up 2 of those frags. Now, Epsilon will be acquiring their 8th, minimizing the sort of scoreline difference in just 3 rounds, but still, beforehand, they gotta break the economy of the CT side, and that could only happen in the next round.
Kinguin will just decide to save their guns. I do think it would have been a decent idea for them to actually try and hunt down Epsilon. Because you can see Kinguin, their money is already really good. They could already probably just get a full buy into this round. Whereas Epsilon's is still sort of on the edge, where if they lost a round, they could certainly be in question. And if you do take 1 or 2 guns off them at the end there, it can make a fairly big difference in terms of forcing the rebuys to come through. So I think Kinguin probably should have tried to play for the exit kills, but again, it's easy to say that. It's very difficult to actually be able to find those exit frags. You have to get a little bit lucky in terms of positioning yourself in the right place, and you saw all of Epsilon exit over towards Squeaky there. But either way, double AWPs for Kinguin. With all that money they have, they are going to decide to invest into one for Spiro and Mihu, both having them on different areas of the map, I believe. Yeah, Mihu's on A and Spiro's on the B site. Mihu does have a gap in the smoke, but Epsilon will not be going anywhere near that smoke to start off the round. Again, we've seen most of the T-side rounds so far from both teams start out very, very slowly indeed, and that trend looks to continue for Epsilon at the early stages of this second half.
Yeah, playing slow seems to be the name of the game, but as we say, so, Mouse and Spiro did go a bit aggressive there towards Sunroom. They pretty much threw a very good smoke there. Kevzi had barely any sort of vision, but he was able to take down Mouse to only 15 points of health. And honestly, in this sort of scenario, it would make sense for them to even try to trade out the weapons that they have. But really, Epsilon, they have the sort of man advantage, but not anymore. Rallen doing a great job there towards middle. And with that mid presence, looks like that Kinguin is gonna get overwhelmed here. I mean, Epsilon, they have 4 players towards the B bomb site, and Kinguin is just gonna have a difficult hold here at this point. They are pushing through, not checking vents though. This could come back to bite them, honestly.
Could be the case as Mouse gets one kill, but there goes Kevzi, ensuring the trade comes through. And so it does look like Epsilon will close out the round because Kinguin wants nothing to do with the B site retake. And with good reason, of course. It's very difficult to retake B, especially when you don't have enough utility to do so and the man disadvantage. Certainly worth the save from Kinguin's point of view, especially as they still have some money left in the bank. And so if they do save both of these guns, it should still be a fairly strong buy from Kinguin. To be honest, if they save both these guns, it should pretty much be a full buy. So still every chance for Kinguin, but they have lost the 2 previous rounds, as we were saying, and this time it was Kevzi finding 2 kills who made a fairly big difference for Epsilon in the round. It looks like both teams will just agree to save their respective guns, and so very likely to still see a full buy for Kinguin, but the double AWPs didn't work in the previous round. Let's see if Spiro has an AWP for himself as well. No, it's an M4 on the floor. So it looks like Mihu's going to stick with the AWP, which is a little bit unexpected, considering Spiro is most certainly the primary AWPer, but it looks like they want Mihu to solo hold the A site, while the rest of the team focuses on holding other positions. As I say that, Mihu will now get some support, so that he can try and go aggressive in towards A main by the looks of things.
There is an AWPer there towards A main. Really, he doesn't have to go for that sort of fight. It's quite a risky one. Now, him holding this angle, this is good for Mihu, as he's actually going to be seeing a player run in his crosshairs. He gets the frag and could back away, but there's still a guy towards Squeaky, so now that Squeaky is being watched by one of his teammates, he can escape. But still, Kinguin, in fact, I'm quite surprised that Kinguin themselves are kind of going to be giving away middle. They kind of, I don't know if they're expecting for Epsilon not to even contest that part of the map, because that's the case. They're not even contesting middle at this point. JZ Watkins, though, getting tagged down there, but Rallen, he didn't do enough damage to kill JZ Watkins, and he will be walking away with his life here by the looks of it, with the up nonetheless. And you have to give credit to Epsilon. They, in fact, have got a player in the middle. That's Barbar, who was, in fact, able to sneak past through. And if there's anything we can learn from this, is that Rallen, on the terrorist side, he was quite the nuisance for the CTs.
Barbar not quite going to get into as powerful of a position, though, as Rallen did in that round, but still, in towards white box, he could certainly make a big impact on the round, and he might have to, because with 25 seconds left, Epsilon are going to rely on a fairly quick push towards the A site. And if Kappa could slow them down, there's going to be very little chance here. The first kill comes in. JZ Walkings, though, gets that all-important frag. And now Kappa does go down on the site. He was the last line of defense here towards A. And as he gets dropped down, Epsilon just about get the site quickly enough to get the bomb planted. And a 2-on-3 retake Kinguin will attempt, but the flash is just so good for Barbar. Really nice, simple team play there from Epsilon, but it gets them the free kill and it secures them the round win.
You have to feel sorry for Capper in that position. He was on the side itself, and both the players, they were coming at him, and they were relatively low at HP. and it just doesn't work out there for Capper. He did throw a nice flash as well. You know, that's the thing. He throws a flash, goes for the peak. He pretty much, that's the best case scenario for him. And him not killing JZ Watkins, who was already low on HP, is, I'd say, quite satisfying. But you know what's satisfying? Epsilon, they're in fact doing a very good job here. I'm even quite surprised here on the terrorist side. For the first time ever, they might even be in a position on the second half to even equalize the scoreline. Yes, in the first half, you know, Epsilon did win the pistol round, and they lost to a force by a Kinguin. That was the scoreline. The first time the scoreline was a draw, but really after that, it's just been Kinguin kind of doing a very solid work on the T side, on the CT side as well at the start of things. But Epsilon, they're climbing back here, and look at Epsilon. They have 4 of their players moving slowly but surely towards this B bomb side. The problem is though, Rallin and Co are towards A, and they're not going to be having a lot of action here.
Yeah, and they have also gone aggressive, so Shapiro should be aware the push is coming in. The Mac 10 struggles a little bit, but Barbar does eventually get himself the kill, and Mao's now with the AWP. How is he still here? They haven't spotted out Mouse. He gets himself a free kill. This could be a really strong position from Mouse, but he gets overwhelmed. Just not enough cover in towards headshot before the AK takes him down. And so, unfortunately for Kinguin, despite Mouse's best efforts, not really going to be able to hold on to that B site. And so Mihu with the Deagle might get some players peeking in towards him, might get the chance for some headshots, but won't get the chance to win the round. There is one of those headshots coming in. Could try and get the AK for himself, but actually I think Barbar had the Mac 10, didn't he? So that's why he was pushing out. Not really going to be anything for Mihu to do here. And as you said, we're going to go back to an 11-11 scoreline. And Kinguin starting to struggle a little bit on their CT side. I mean, they will have the money for the buy into the next round, but we've already seen, even with double AWPs, them struggle to take rounds to go their way, if you like.
Yeah, this could start be a bit of an issue here for Kinguin. Their terrorist side looked relatively good, I have to admit, especially at the start. They're in the end, they kind of crumbled, but then they had a good start here on the city side in the second half. But right now, you know, Epsilon are doing a very good job. JZ Watkins, you know, we talked about him being the sort of factor. If he steps up, his team could have a better chance here on the T side. And the thing is, he kind of has stepped up. You know, he has been doing a pretty good job at finding some of those initial picks. Barbar now is going to be the player with the op. Rallin is alone here towards middle. This isn't the best position, I'd say, for him right now, especially being by his lonesome. He could use some backup. I think the B side players did try to go for a boost there towards the vent, but that Molotov being deployed there from, I think, Kevzi kind of stops their plans in their tracks. So now Epsilon, still nothing much has happened here, and the players are finding some of these picks, trying at least, and apparently JZ Watkins will do a very good job at finding the peak.
Yeah, again, JZ Watkins, he's been struggling in the first half, but ever since he's got the AWP on the T side, he's been finding those opening picks decently enough so far. At least when Epsilon have needed it in the gun rounds, he's been good at doing so, taking down the AWP of Mihu even this time. Although we do have to talk about the fact that Rallin towards White Box did find a kill back. So not quite a clean advantage for Epsilon. Back to a 4v4. They are going to try and make their way towards A. Kevzi is the only man towards B. The rest of the team is grouped up in towards A main. So the Swedish team will look to line up the push, but they're not going to clear this position. It was the bomb pushing out first, so now Kinguin can go for the full rotate, but they don't even need it. Kappa shuts down the push, getting himself 2 kills. And Kevzi might have the ball in his control, but in a 1-on-3 with 25 seconds left, he's not got a great chance to win this round.
You could say that, but he does have enough time to actually run all the way back towards the B bomb. So this sprint of his is gonna have to be quick, even gonna try to evade the Opera, but he's simply not quick enough to the Opera Sparrow. So Kinguin, you know, they're gonna be acquiring the round, but really, I'd say on the back of Epsilon making a pretty big mistake there, pushing out towards A main. The player with the bomb walking out first. Now that is problematic. Pretty much every single time when the player with the bomb peeks out first, if he dies, he drops the bomb, and the rotation can be even swifter from the CT side. Because now you know where the bomb is at. You know where the bomb is at. All you gotta do is defend it. So that was a bit problematic from the Epsilon side, even though they did find the initial frag from the get-go. It's mistakes like this that could and will cost you rounds for Epsilon, so they gotta be a bit more careful. And Miku, though, I have no idea how did he spot out JC Watkins right there, but that is a frag for none other than the Epsilon, the Kinguin squad, pardon me.
I don't know what Mihu was doing there. He was just close towards Squeaky and he might just get a second. Mihu making the difference in this round as he gives Kinguin the two-man advantage. See Baba spotting out the man in towards Benson in the meantime. Shapiro holding down B. The double AWPs finally make the difference as Shapiro nails a headshot himself. Here comes Barbar though, should get this trade kill back as he spots out the head of Rallen, and that is indeed the first kill, and Mihu gets caught off guard. What was Mouse doing there? I guess he was baiting his teammates a little bit, but he does make up for it by finding those two kills. I don't know how Mouse got to that position though. Did he walk out through vents or something? That was crazy good. Either way, Kinguin get the round.
Yeah, that's been pretty much the storyline of what the players have been doing on the B bomb side. You know, they've been boosting up one of their own. I think that's Mouse being boosted up towards Vent now for the past couple of rounds or so, and he's been doing a pretty good job the round previously. And that is definitely a strong position to be holding off, as you can definitely be helping out your player up in middle in the defense. And that was a nice run boost from the players towards A side. Capper being boosted on the Shroud box. Now this is a powerful position, and really when the second half is coming to a close, you want to try to abuse these sort of powerful positions on the CT side of Cash, whether it be trying to go for anti-boosts toward middle, trying to go for a boost like there towards Shroud Box, holding behind vents. Those are some very cruel positions for the terrorists. And now, speaking of our terrorists, Epsilon, they have sort of this mid presence here, and they have a couple options here. They could try to go towards the B bomb side. It looks like where some of the players are shifting at, and even the bomb itself, but they still have a decent amount of time here.
Rallen already finding two kills. Kevzy with the AK is nowhere near the action as Rallen finds himself a triple over from Highway. And so the one AK-47 that Epsilon had will try to work towards B, but already the rest of his teammates have gone down, and as does Eric. So the AK is going to be stuck 1-on-5, and Kevzy won't get to do anything there. Rallen gets a 4K. Shapiro will steal away the ace, of course, but you can't blame him for taking that kill. And so now Kinguin 14-11 up. Will have to deal with the buy, but they are certainly the ones happy with the position they are in, because Epsilon pretty much have to rely on this round here, and they won't quite have the AWP for JZ Walkings. They decide to go for 5 AKs instead. So that's something to remember here. If Shapiro could sort of use that AWP and find those long-range fights, he could certainly have a fairly good chance at being able to take those long-range fights to work out for himself. But we'll have to wait and see if that's the case, because to start the round again, Epsilon trying to focus towards mid.
Honestly, I don't blame them. They had some relatively decent success at taking middle, and once the utility is deployed from the Epsilon side, they have pretty good success rate of taking middle. Right now, they have middle. They're gonna try to go for a quick A split here. 3 players come in from Highway. The guy in Squeaky is gonna try to distract the players on the CT side as the thing. That's what we're seeing right now. But somehow Zinkin and Kevzy now are the last 2 terrorist players standing. They're gonna have to try and go for this one. Zinkin's gonna drop. And now it's all up to Kevzy with only 7 points of health. I mean, speaking about difficult, it be this one. You know, Kevzy doesn't have a lot to work with here. Rallen is going to be having such a powerful position. They're going to allow for Kevzy to plant the bomb. And once the bomb is going to get planted, that is where I think Kevzy is not going to be having an easy time clutching that one out.
Kevzy trying to come towards B, but as we saw earlier, Rallen does miss the shot. He really should have got that kill there. 7 HP for Kevzy. And he's going to run straight in towards CT. This could be the opening kill. If the timing was slightly different there, he really could have taken down Mouse, who had a flash in his hands. But instead, Mouse manages to pull his gun out in time to drop Kevzy out of the round and give Kinguin the round number 15 on the board. And Epsilon, their money has constantly sort of been on the edge, and it's been a few buys that haven't been great for them, and that is going to continue here. This time, really not a great buy, and on a round they have to win. They're going to have to rely on this quick B play, it looks like, because they are all towards the B site to start things off. Kevzy with the 1 AK will have a lot to do here for Epsilon, unless someone else can step up with one of those weaker weapons.
Honestly, we haven't really seen much of this in the sort of proper gun rounds from Epsilon. I think the very first gun round that they did win was on the back of pushing towards the B bomb site, but other than that, they've been avoiding the B bomb site like the plague, you could say. Sparrow with the op in a pretty difficult position, I'd say, towards vents. That's definitely not the best spot for an opera to be in at, but Zink and Barber both picking up kills, and Rallen, he tries his best, but it's not good enough. Capper and Miku in this sort of scenario, honestly, I wouldn't blame them if they would try to go for a save at this point, because things are looking difficult, and difficult indeed, as smoke's being deployed and they're out of vision and out of the round. As simple as that. The B defense having a difficult time, and I'm even quite surprised that Sparrow, ended up going there towards vents. He could have probably just had a better time on the side itself. Once the smoke was deployed from the T side, it would have been much better, I'd say, to maybe go towards Heaven, as I said previously, the side itself, or even CT. Not the best of positioning there from Kinguin, and I guess you could say that really comes down to them losing the round.
Yeah, and as you were saying, we haven't really seen Epsilon all that often just group up 5-man and push a site to start off a round, and they go towards B, and it works out for them this time. We saw again, Kinguin consistently put a player in towards vents when they can. And it seemed like Epsilon were having troubles in sort of shutting that down, but this time the quick B play really allows them to make sure that that can't be too much of an issue for them. And without having a Molotov event, I think that's the best way to do it. So certainly good to see Epsilon managing to counter that aspect of Kinguin's defense. Of course, Kinguin, though, still have a buy into this round. It's still a long way to go for Epsilon if they want to bring this one to overtime. We are going to see Eric over towards Squeaky. They might try and see if they can find a pick here between them. In the meantime, Jay-Z Walkings with the AWP is over towards the B site, but it doesn't look like Epsilon are going to go for any aggression to start things off. And again, I do want to point out, Kinguin only have the man in towards vents to look towards mid. As Zinkin tries to go for a peek, shouldn't really be happening for him, although the nade manages to land straight onto Spiro's feet. And that's going to take him down early on with the assistance of some shots. Great start for Epsilon. However, now they're just going to push the A site. And Kappa drops down the bomb, looking for the second, but the trade comes in. And it's looking good for Epsilon, especially as Barbar gets that final kill on the A site.
That was quite confusing there on the Epsilon side. I saw one of those flashes coming through. Barber just jumping out of Squeaky. It does mean that Kevzy is going to drop it, really. Barber also got a pretty important fire on the player that somehow didn't kill him from behind. And now Epsilon in contention. And definitely going the distance here. 13-15 is going to be the scoreline here. If we take a quick peek at the scoreboard, I think the players will try to invest. I mean, Sparrow and Capper, they should have enough to afford the rifles, to be exact, the M4s. But really, if they're going to be ending up losing that round, this is where things truly get tricky. The scoreline right now is 13-15. If they end up losing that round, it could be 14-15. And then Epsilon is in such a good position to get overtime. And in overtime, it can really be anyone's game at this point.
I think that's certainly fair to say, especially considering Epsilon have, again, been fairly successful so far on their T side. It's been sort of a second half where we've seen rounds go streaking back and forth. Kinguin going to push out towards B. Mihu also goes down. Auto Director kind of sucking a bit there, but we'll let it off. It's Kinguin. Lose two players already. There's Spiro, though, towards mid to try and salvage something for the Polish team. He gets a frag on towards Zinkin. However, Kinguin still with only 3 players left. It's so difficult to sort of have presence towards everywhere on the map. And you can see them taking a gamble. 2 players stacked towards the B site. And that might be a good decision for them here, because there are currently plenty of Epsilon players lining up for the B push. But Miles pulls out a smoke at just the wrong time. And now Kappa has it all to do on the B site.
He's gonna get flashed and drops, as simple as that. Epsilon, these sort of B pushes have been working out wonders for them. Barbar is also proving to be quite a decent opera, all things considering, getting himself 3 kills in the round. And Sparrow, he's gonna try to save the M4. If he's gonna save the M4, his team might just have more than 1 rifle to work with. But really, that's what is a scary prospect for Kinguin. They're barely going to be having a decent buy in the, well, what could be the last round of this game. And the thing is, at least the last round of regulation, that is, 14-15, it can definitely go 15 here for Epsilon, as they are now looking fired up. And the good thing for them is that Kinguin is going to be facing us, the Swedes, with a not-so-good buy. Sparrow will be taking down Kevzi, and he's not going to survive with the M4. Now this is troublesome.
Here it is. It's now or never for, well, not now or never. Now or never for Epsilon, I suppose, but now or never for Kinguin if they want to win in regulation. And as you were saying, the buy is not as good as it could have been if that gun was saved. They are forced down to a CZ for Kappa. They are forced down to a Mag 7 for Spiro. He's going to be playing towards the B-bomb site to start things off. And Epsilon, they had some success previously with sort of some fast B pushes in a round that's so incredibly important to them. Of course, they don't want to take such a huge risk in just going for a fast B push. So I think almost always in these rounds, you'll see the T-side team go for a very, very slow, very, very methodical strategy and make sure they don't get caught off guard by any of the Kinguin players to start things off. It looks like they won't be caught off guard just yet because Kinguin are playing in a fairly standard passive setup, and as are really Epsilon. So just both teams sort of trading sort of blows back and forth, if you like. They're trading a couple of nades, but nothing really significant, of course.
And that's the thing, Epsilon is just going to be playing this sort of passive style in which Kinguin just doesn't have an opportunity to go for these sort of pushes. They can try though, but I believe they themselves expect Epsilon to be playing relatively passively to show. It's about 50 seconds left on the clock, and neither team has acquired much ground, really. In fact, Kinguin has lost ground. They gave away mid control, and that's the sort of portion of the map you probably don't want to be giving away, but really, Kinguin, they can't really hold it off. What, with a CZ, a Max 7? Nah, it's a bit too difficult for Kinguin, and as the timer is dwindling right now, Epsilon is gonna have to make the call here, and the call looks like it's gonna be the A-bomb site, but Miku and Raul, and Miku again, and Miku with the third! But it's gonna crumble like this, Epsilon? Not like this, of all rounds. They lose it in the possibly most horrifying of fashions.
Mihu steps up huge for his team when they need him the most. He closes out the map victory. You got to give him credit. I thought he was only going to get one, maybe two kills there from the site, but he just continued to find frag after frag. And so it is indeed Kinguin to just about close out this map for themselves, and they close out the final map of the group stages. That is all the games done in the groups. We have got two teams decided then that will be going to the FCDB land. That's going to be Tricked coming out on top over in Group A, and WASD going through in Group B, I believe. And then we're going to have playoffs to decide the last two teams that will make it through. So make sure to stick around. There's still plenty of Counter-Strike to be played. And I mean, talking about the teams that did already qualify, I think it's fair to say I was a bit surprised to see Tricked make it out of Group A over teams like Passions, teams like Pride that were in there, but they performed very well with Snedka as their new player.
I wouldn't say that it's too surprising. I'd say Tricked is a relatively decent team. It's just they don't really get to show off what they're really capable of. It was surprising with the new addition, though. Snedker, never really heard of this fella, but he has been, playing relatively good there within the team. I was a bit skeptical at first, but he seems to be gelling in relatively good with the team, and that's what matters with Tricked. And the sort of first proper land that are going to be playing with him, I do believe is going to be the FCDB Cup. So it's going to be interesting to see how they perform in the LAN environment.
Yeah, certainly will be interesting. But as I was saying, that's us done for the group stages. Again, I believe it's WASD that made it out from Group B in first place. I'm still not 100% sure because we are, there's conflicting sources, I guess you could say, because both WASD and Kinguin did end with the same wins, but I believe it's based off head-to-head that WASD beat Kinguin in the group stages, so that should get them first place, and I think it'll be them going to the LAN. It could be Kinguin. Either way, both those teams are very, very strong, of course, and to be honest, I think either WASD or Kinguin heading into the playoffs, they will be one of the teams that will certainly be competing for one of those two spots that we have left that will be given in the playoffs in the coming days.
That's pretty good summary right there,
Yeah.
Hawker. And I guess that's gonna be it from us today. We covered the group stage. That is done and dusted. We're gonna have to take a look at the playoffs.
it will all be about the playoffs in these coming days. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to come back for those playoffs because that's where everything is really decided for these teams. Certainly going to have some really exciting matchups, and we'll get to see who can step up when it really means the most. Thank you for watching. I have been Hawker. This has been Sir Danny. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, of course. Always got to throw in the shameless self-promotion. And other than that, we will see you next time for those playoffs.